Hi guys, Matt Lemke here with Through Wargaming Goggles, and today I'm going to bring you a flip through on the BattleTech Core Rulebook. This is probably the first flip through of Through Wargaming Goggles. I've done hundreds on role-playing books on my other channel, but this is the first time I've done one, I think, here. So the BattleTech Core Rulebook is part of the refit that is debuting. Well, I guess in a way it's already debuted. They've announced it, they've talked about it, but the first time you're going to be able to see it and pick it up is at Gen Con next week. That's the first weekend of August in 2026. Inside you have a beautiful piece of art, and by the way, these are all the mechs that are in, well, not all, but probably close to 70% of the mechs that come in the starter. This is really cool art. I think one of my favorite parts is this laser shooting and hitting this gentleman with the fire, the heat coming up from it. I really love that detail. Anyway, into the core rulebook. This book is not going to be a lot about the rules changes because I haven't dove into them yet. I do know about a handful of them. It's going to be about the book, the way it's laid out, and why I think maybe it's good or what might be bad. And with that said, the first thing I noticed, and I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see a little bit better, is the table of contents is color coordinated. So every time you switch from a section, you go like, oh, that's combat. You go from damage to, this would be other actions, and you go to the battlefield. The colors change. And I think that's one of the important things that they did. Another thing they did that is actually very important in my opinion is they modernized the book quite a bit with these like index sections. And if we look at it at the side, you can, I don't know if you can tell that on camera, but like you see the different colors here. Those are the different sections of the different colors here. Those are the different sections of the book. Okay, and for the most part, the core rulebook is exactly what you would expect of a core rulebook. I'll zoom out a little bit so that you guys can see a little bit better. And it has, you know, your table of contents, everything else, and then it goes into the first chapter, which is an overview of the game world with an introduction, a universe of possibility, choosing your factions, etc., how you're going to blend into the world of BattleTech as a player, the different houses, Fall of the Republic, the clans, talks a little bit about Ironwind medals, camo specs online, a lot of little things like that. And then you move into the little history section on the Ill Clan era. You move into the Inner Sphere map, or one of many Inner Sphere maps. The Draconless Reach. This breaks everything down. This is the hinterlands, different military organizations. Well, a common chart for military organization within the Inner Sphere. And then you move into playing the game on page 32. So, with that said, first thing it does is it gives you basically a glossary. You go over the different terms of the book, the different components and things of that nature, and then you move in to the sequence of play. How is BattleTech played? You roll for initiative, you go through the movement phase, you go through the ranged attack phase, you go through the physical attack phase, heat phase, and then the end phase. I think that... I mean, I started playing 40 years ago. I think heat phase is a newer addition, at least, I mean, maybe we just blend it all in to the end phase when we play. But basically, you roll for initiative, the winner of initiative moves second and attacks first. And then you have the different aspects of that. And then the next chapter, which starts on page, I mean, minus the art, 44, is movement. You go through all the things about jumping, walking, running. If you're familiar with BattleTech, you're already familiar with this for the most part. It's not one of the big things that changed. There was some stuff that changed with like one-legged mechs and things of that nature. But for the most part, movement is unchanged. So you go into falling prone, becoming prone, all of that, movement on pavement in the core rulebook. This, I'm 90% certain, is a step up from the core box. It doesn't have things that include like bridge movement, hidden units, tag designations, and things of that nature. And then you move into combat. Combat is pretty much the same as it has been. There are a few changes, like, you know, with case and things of that nature. The diagrams in the new book, I think, crush Advanced Warfare for what applies and what does not apply, and how the book is laid out for learning line of sight, drawing line of sight, and being able to target your enemy. These diagrams, however, might be the same as they were in other books, just a little bit remastered. I am uncertain on that. And then, of course, you can't have a BattleTech game without Gator. And then after combat, well, all your attack modifiers, 2 pages, more complicated than in the starter box. And you move into, well, this is kind of neat. I appreciate this. This will probably help me memorize the chart, and I will memorize it and then not need this visual reference, but I do like this visual reference. And if you buy the core starter or the core box, you get this and this as a card to help you learn to play the game better. Here is a great picture of an atlas. And then after combat, we move into damage, which basically, again, is pretty much standard for the BattleTech universe. They've added, you know, I think the flowchart diagrams are a little bit better than I've seen in other books. The layout of the book is quite a bit better. You have much more consistent. To me, the Advanced Warfare kind of seemed like it was a plug-and-play rule book. And then after you get through damage, you move into heat. There is an entire chapter on heat, of course. And it's, I don't know how long it is, but there's damage to the Mech warriors. And then you move into other actions. And other actions is your piloting skill rolls, how to make those skill rolls, things of that nature. Things that haven't changed too terribly much that are going to affect the game. Again, within the refit, I think there's like maybe out of 5,000 mechs, less than 2% that you wouldn't want to play anymore. And then there's the battlefield. It gives you information on extreme conditions like heat, temperatures, low visibility, fighting at night, gravity, snowfall, rain, wind, and all of that. This never came into effect the way we played, and I don't really remember any of this coming into effect ever. But where the core rule book really starts to change is, I think, mostly the way it's laid out. If you want to learn something about terrain, you go to a terrain section. If you want to learn about the urban combat, you go to urban combat, where it breaks down the differences between bridges, building subtypes. Before, it was a little bit more scattered, I think. At least that's how I feel about the books in the past. And largely that was, I think, because they were just compiled together. The rules for attacking buildings are in here. And then the biggest change, I think, to the core rules for BattleTech is battlefield support. The idea, the notion of tanks, vehicles, and infantry, the way they were in the past, has changed to their battlefield support. And the reason for that was because some players, apparently more than not, felt that they distracted from the idea of the game that BattleTech is mech combat. Are they going to do more stuff with that in the future? I am not certain. I'm curious as to how they're going to handle asset and asset cards. Are you going to make your own? Are they going to be print out PDFs? I haven't seen any information on that, and that's something I'm going to ask Randall at Gen Con. But you have all the different multi-hexes. You have the entire rule set for how they work. If you've played Alpha Strike, the asset cards are very reminiscent to me of Alpha Strike cards for things like battle support, Yes. Wait. Did I call it? Yeah, battlefield support. And I think that I kind of think, without playing it, that it's a step in the right direction to make mechs really feel like the thing the game is about. I think if they're going to continue with combined arms, maybe that should be an entirely different game, even other than Alpha Strike. I think Alpha Strike is really about lance on lance for the most part, or lance on star, and I think that if you want a epic style game, they should come out with an epic style game for BattleTech, and that should be what you play. So here is, in fact, I mean, these are very reminiscent of the cards in Alpha Strike, if not direct cards from Alpha Strike, for strafing runs and long toms and the way they work. And again, the battlefield support, it is something that's going to be part of building missions, I believe, and you're going to get points to do it and things of that nature. I haven't read this book yet. And then you get into the aerospace portion of the rules and how they are assets and an asset card as well. And I think it's going to do a lot of things with the game. One, you're not going to have to own as many models, which is a pro and a con, in my opinion. I love pushing my steel and my plastic around the table, but it'll make it easier for newer players to get into the game at a level where there's a lot of strategy and tactics. And I think that the idea of battlefield support being a hand that's not necessarily visibly on the table might be a really wonderful way to take the tactics of BattleTech up to another level. With that said, I've always liked the idea of playing a combined arms BattleTech game and never really done too much of it because that's not what we played when we got together. We played gunslingers and basically grinders or free-for-alls, lance free-for-alls, and then around 180 you get into weapons and equipment, and then the next big chapter is missions, which I think I'm there already. No, I'm still in weapons and equipment. That's the other thing, hey, that I just learned. If you're lost as to where you're at in the book, on the left-hand side, it tells you. So missions in the core rulebook is really, really expanded. They have instructions on how to set up a standard mission for yourself. They have 8 steps for some of the things. They have a mission table, which we'll zoom in on. So you roll 2d6. The first die is 1 to 3 or 4 to 6, and then you roll your second die, and it's over here. And these are the different missions that you can end up with playing randomly. And then there is a complications table, variant missions set up right here. For some players may prefer to choose less randomness than the setup. They follow steps 1 through 3 as normal, and then they do these steps as well. I believe that you have in here the instruction. Well, you go through all of the different types of missions, and there is ambush, annihilation, control the field, dominate, extraction, focal point, general melee, hold the line, objective raid, sensor check, and I think we're already at double what is in the core book. Steel rain, urban sweep, and then of course there's some little terminology here, scale, and how you can increase the scale of, there's a section on scale for increasing your BV. So for standard missions, scale 1 is 2,000 BV per side. Each additional point of scale adds another 2,000, all the way up to 6,000 BV per side. So you can actually, this is going to actually help a lot when you're doing things, which I do with my friends, is group games. We always have a terrible time trying to decide who gets what on what side. I think the idea of moving the battle value is going to make getting together and playing games a lot easier. With that said, after missions, you move into well, there are several missions here, and then of course I'm getting ahead of myself. You get into the maps and how to set them up. So here is player 1 and 2 home edge maps, and they also have another idea here where the map edge for the player is on this side as opposed to here, and that's really what they go into, the different standards of there. They go into victory points, tiebreakers, so there is actually a definitive system now on how to win a game with the missions, which may or may not have been there before. We just played to kill each other, and I've been playing to kill each other pretty much since 8th grade in 1986. So that's all I've ever done with BattleTech. So I actually like the idea, personally, that missions is going to be a fundamental part of it. And then the appendixes. There's tripods, quads, and it goes over the different things for the different types of mechs, super heavies, common miscon. This is actually really kind of a neat section. I haven't read it all yet, but I looked through it and I was like, wow, that's really neat. So unlike other games, there are things that are very different about BattleTech, or well, I guess there's things that are very different about every game, my bad. But so rolling a 12 is always a hit, even if the target number for an attack piloting skill roll is higher than 12. Common misconception of the game. So they have like 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of common misconceptions that they address. Everybody should read that. I read it and I was like, oh man, I've been doing that wrong. And I didn't even finish reading it yet. And then there's developer's notes, which I haven't read this yet, but I think that's going to be very good. And then on the back, you have all the weapons charts, BattleTech. You have battlefield tracking. Support ASCII cards right in the back. I'm sure there's PDFs of these and instructions on how to make them. And then different terrain types broken down by bridge, pavement, etc., and what they do and how they work, so you can have a reference of all the terrain. Movement costs table, the piloting skill roll table, the attack modifiers table continued, and all the different charts. There are a lot of charts in this book, of course, and of course an index and the art once again. So this is the BattleTech Core Rulebook, and what it does for you is it gives you a larger play area or a larger sandbox to use the rules for in the BattleTech universe with the refit. Who is it for? Anyone that wants to move beyond the core rules or the core box. I think as a whole, a lot of players will never need to move beyond the core box, but the expansion of missions and the appendixes and everything else that is in this book will be helpful for the players that get to that point. I would be, personally, I'm a player that could be content with buying Mechs and having the sheets and playing with just the core rules from the core box. Maybe 10 years ago that would have been me. I suspect that in a year this will be my BattleTech Bible, and I suspect that hopefully, I hope that more rules come out for infantry and vehicles, so that they can be a little bit more advanced, but I do think they need to be dumbed down a little bit. Anyway, so the BattleTech Core Rulebook is 300-ish pages, I think. 269, and there's still a couple of charts left after that. It has a retail price of $54.99. If you are going to play BattleTech, I don't necessarily think you need this right away. I think the first purchase you want to probably make is the core box set. But if you already own the models, a lot of models for the game, you can easily skip the core box and go to the core rulebook, because it has everything that is in the core box rules wise and then some. So if you're a BattleTech player already, you can start with this. If you're not a BattleTech player or you're a new player, I would suggest you start with the core box. thank you guys for watching. Thank you for everything you have done this week on BattleTech Week. I can't tell you how much fun I have had responding to the comments and things of that nature that have been going crazy on through Wargaming Goggles this week. Have a great day. Please like, subscribe, and share. Share with your BattleTech friends. If you have any questions that you want me to ask Catalyst at Gen Con, please post them in the comments below, and I will start compiling a list this weekend. Thank you, and have a great day.
Hi guys, meet the Nibbles, who's gonna go down. She just decided not to go down my back, so we'll do this for her so she's comfy. Thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. Please hit the like button and share it if you know somebody who might be interested. And of course, there's always Twitter and the Facebook thingy, and soon I have a newsletter coming. That'll be down there or in a link below, and my kitty cat loves that idea. So anyway, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, subscribe. Be a part of my community, our community. Let's make it grow together. See you guys at a con somewhere, or a local store, or if I'm driving through the country, maybe a game club. I don't know, you're not going to go knock down my camera. Bye guys.